Hello everyone, my name is Clando Viana. I'm a senior test engineer at Entrust, and I'm here to demonstrate the integration between IBM DB2 and Entrust Key Control. Entrust Key Control 5.4, we're using nShield Connect XC for the HSM that's connected to the key control, and the client software for nShield is 12.6.11. So let's just jump into the demonstration so you guys can see how easy it is. So I'm going to first go to the Entrust Key Control. I'm here already logged in. I want to show that we have a cluster of servers. So we have two servers here. It's a good idea to have more than one server. That way, if something happens to one of the servers, IBM DB2 still can get to the keys. Okay. We also have what you're going to have to do is enable KMIP. So here's how KMIP is enabled. Okay. And one of the things when you do this that's important is the restriction TLS that's required by IBM. So make sure that's enabled. And also this shows here that I'm connected to an HSM. I'm going to change the setting here to 30 seconds so things are cached a little bit. Okay. And now you can get one of the things that I'm going to show the HSM settings. Sorry. You can see that HSM is enabled. Okay. And we can see the server list for the HSM. We have one HSM connected. Okay. Going back to KMIP. One of the things we're going to have to do is create a client certificate for IBM. So I already have done that, but I'll go over the creation process so you guys can see how easy it is. You click on client certificates, and I have the certificate already created here, but I'm going to create another one. So an example, you're just going to give it a name, okay, and you're going to say create, and that's going to create the certificates. Okay. Once you have them created, you're going to download them. So you're going to select them and do a download certificate. This is going to download a zip file. Okay. And the zip file is going to have the CA certificate and the client certificate here with the name that you have given. So we have IBM DB2 here. You're going to get these two files and you're going to transfer them to your IBM DB2 server. Okay, and that's what we're going to use to configure IBM DB2. So I'm going to close this here and I'm going to go to my IBM DB2 server now. Okay, I have here, I'm log into my IBM DB2 server as my user ID. My user ID has to do privileges because I'm going to have to do some things as root user. And I created two scripts here that is going to demonstrate the whole configuration. So I'm going to run the first one, is the keystore setup. So IBM uses a keystore to hold the certificates, and you create a configuration file that tells where that keystore is and what are your KMIP servers and things related to KMIP. So let's just run that, and all coming out while the script is executing. Okay, so let's run keystore setup.sh. So one of the things that you have to do is make sure that you have the JSKit libraries path on your LD library path. That JSKit comes with the IBM DB2 software. You set up your path to be able to use the executables from JSKit. And these executables are going to be used to create the key store. Okay, so I'm going to create a temp directory. Go to that temp directory, and I'm going to create the key store file. Okay, and this is the command that use it, and I'll just list. So when you execute that, it creates two files, a P12 and a stash file, and this is the name of the file that I have given, and this is basically my key store. Now I'm going to get the client certificates from the key control and add it to my key store. So I'm copying it here and I'm adding the client certificate to the key store. I want to call the attention to this label here. This label is going to be used on the configuration file. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the CA certificate and add it to the key store. I'm going to list the contents of this key store, and you're going to see my trusted CA here, and you're going to see the key control app cert. This is the label I use here. Okay, this is gonna be used on the configuration file. It's very important. Used by IBM DB2. That's gonna hold these files in the configuration file. So I'm creating the directory. I'm copying my keystore files to it, and I'm gonna list the contents of it. And I have my keystore files now that are there on the IBM DB2 security directory. And now I'm gonna create the configuration file that's gonna tell where everything is. Okay, so here's my configuration file, and I want to call attention here my KMIP servers, the key control servers. Okay, I can have as many servers as I want on the cluster, so I can just keep adding them to here. The label that I mentioned before, here it is. That's how IBM DB2 is going to find the certificate. These are my key control files. I mean keystore files. Okay, the step file and the P12 file. And another important parameter here is this allow critical base constraint equals to true. This parameter is important because this is what's going to make the certificates that we downloaded from key control work with IBM DB2. So all these parameters are documented in the guide with a lot more details, so you guys can have an idea of what they do. So now that the configuration is done, we need to tell IBM DB2 to use the configuration, right? So I'm gonna do here to the DB2 instance user, and I'm just gonna run the other script, which is gonna do the IBM DB2 setup now. It's gonna tell IBM DB2 how to use these files. So let me do this. The script. So I'm gonna update the database parameters to use KMIP. So there are two parameters. We have the keystore location and we have the keystore type. So the keystore location is gonna point to the configuration file, and the keystore type is gonna tell IBM that I'm using KMIP. Okay. This command changes the configuration, but for that to take effect, I have to stop and start DB2. So stop. We'll do start. Okay, now that we stopped and started, I check the configuration. So here's I'm running this command to check the configuration, and you can see that the keystore type is set to KMIP, and my keystore location is set to the configuration file. Now I'm going to try to encrypt the database. What that's going to do is going to generate a new key for the database, and it's going to store the key on the KMIP server, and pretty much that completes the integration. It tells if this command executes successfully, I'm able to encrypt the database using the Entrust Key Control. This is gonna take a minute or so, so let's just wait. As you can see, the database was created successfully. Before I clean up, I'm just gonna go into the key control, into the objects list, and you're gonna see a new object, a new key there, and I'm gonna sort by date here, and this is my new key that was created when the database was created in IBM DB2. Okay, let's go back here, do some cleanup of the database, and that concludes the demo. I mean, it's very easy, it's not hard. I hope the demo helps you with the integration guide, and that you can successfully configure IBM DB2 with Entrust Key Control. Thanks for watching.